AAT Birds Weekly Report is the Eagle news, notes, and analysis you need.
Quick, he's going to go. What a give it to Go back. He looks, fires for the end zone. Intercepted. Intercepted. The 20, the 10, the 5. Touchdown. Not where? Not where? Midfield. He's going to go. Deshaun Jackson. He steps up, he's hit, and falls forward. And he fumbles the football, and the Eagles have it. It's gone. And the Eagles win.
It's all birds, all the time.
And welcome to the AATBirds Inside Swoop. Johnny Ulecka and Chip here. We're going to break down the Eagles-Panthers matchup this Sunday. It is not going to be a trap game. We can't have that happen. But one thing I will start off, and I will lead this into a question for you, Chip, is you cannot take this Panthers team lightly. I'm going to say it like that, especially with the last couple of weeks. You know, they took the Chiefs to almost overtime. I think it was almost overtime. They were tied with them. They took Tampa to overtime. You can't take them lightly. My question for you is this, okay? Is this a game? Now, I know Carolina is one of the worst run defenses in the league. Is this a game that you foresee the Eagles being able to, in the fourth quarter, rest some of those starters to kind of, and especially Saquon Barkley, to kind of take the load off them a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Ravens game that they just played was a very, very physical game. They've definitely been using Saquon a lot. But as far as, and Sly agrees, as far as what this team needs to do, they're going to hopefully continue to do what it is that they have been doing that has been working. So if that means that they're going to run the ball, then they're going to run the ball. If that means they're going to pass the ball, they're going to pass the ball. I had the misfortune of listening to some sports talk radio today, and
I'm sorry to hear that.
Right? And their big thing was, well, Jalen Hurts needs to pass the ball more because we don't think he can do it anymore. And they just need to, throw the ball 30, 40 times a game because the one thing they said was what they did in the first 4 weeks, they've completely thrown out. And in my mind, I went, yeah, why would you change what is working? For me, it's very frustrating to be a fan when everything right now is seemingly going right. Why would you change stuff? Why, as the fan base, would you be requesting more? Different, not even requesting more, requesting different, requesting them to go out of their comfort zone. This Eagles team is a physical, punch you in the mouth team. You don't need to pass the ball. If that's what opens up, go for it. But like you already said, Johnny, this Panthers team cannot stop the run. So you run the ball, you out-physical them, you let the defense continue to do what the defense does, and you give everybody a rest before they have another very physical game with Pittsburgh the following week.
Yeah, listen, this offense is you throw the ball between 20 and 25 times. If a team is going to stop you running the ball, then you're going to have to open it up. And look, I'll give it to you this way. Look at them against Cincinnati. Cincinnati was able to kind of stonewall them running the ball, and they had to pass the ball, and they were able to pass the ball there. So it's not that they can't do it, but if something is working, like you said, why go away from it? To me, it just boggles my mind. It's just, you want to find something to bitch about. And you take a look at this team, they're 10-2. They are controlling the game. When they're able to run the ball, they can do so many different things off of the run, whether it's a play fake, whether, the option, the read option, all that stuff works, and it's intertwined with being able to run the ball. And you have a guy like Saquon Barkley that's able to break the long home run runs, which he's been doing the last couple of weeks, and being able to put games away because of his legs. Listen, that's what your offense is built on right now. And, you looks like you're going to get Devontae Smith back this week, which is an added boost to your pass game.
Good, ease him back in.
Dallas Goedert's going to be out most likely and for the foreseeable future, but you're getting Devontae Smith back. You still have, Grant Calcaterra has stepped in admirably and played well. You have Saquon, Kenny Gainwell out of the backfield. Like, listen, you don't have to throw the ball 40 times. Like, that's not. And look at it this way too. Look at the teams when you take a look at the players who have either the most passing touchdowns or the most passing yards. Either 500 or they're losing records. Like,
right. I was going to say that if you look at the teams with the most passing attempts, you're talking about teams like Dallas, right? Teams who have losing records. If you have a team that is able to out physical,
so here,
like
I'm
the
going to
Philadelphia Eagles right now, you're winning games.
The top 10 teams in passing attempts per game this year.
There we go.
Number 10 is Houston. Houston has struggled. They have a winning record. Okay. Chicago. There's that. They're 4-8. The New York Giants, 2-10. The New York Jets. I think they're 3. Something along the lines of that. Kansas City. Okay. Kansas City. Their running game is not the best, and they don't have Pacheco. They haven't had Pacheco in a number of weeks. And we just paid.
Get to the top 3 because that's where the real telltale is.
Seattle has struggled. They've kind of gone in waves. They're starting to get a little bit better. Cincinnati struggled. Vegas is bad. Cleveland is bad, and Dallas is bad.
The fact that I think that, like, okay.
Do you want to know the teams from 32 to 27?
Yeah, Eagles are 32.
Eagles are 32. The Chargers are 31. Yep. Green Bay's 30. Pittsburgh's 29. Detroit's 28. Baltimore's 28, and Detroit is 27.
It's the balance, man.
And it's
I'm
only
glad
like
you brought this up because I had the
attempts.
same stuff ready to go in my mind.
4 pass attempts more a game. It's not like they throw it 7, 8, 9 times more. The Eagles are at 25.6. Detroit's at 29.3. So I'm sorry, but it's an extra, a little over 3 pass attempts more per game. That's not drastic at all, especially when you look at some of the Eagles teams or some of the games that they played. The Washington game was out of hand late. You had the Giants game, the fourth quarter. Kenny Pickett was just handing the ball off the whole entire fourth quarter. So there is those numbers are a little bit skewed because of the type of games that you've had. But if you don't have to pass the ball, why do it? The numbers are right there.
And if you do choose to pass the ball, look, that's fine. Again, we have a quarterback and we have wide receivers that are capable. You have guys like AJ Brown, who had 5 catches in a huge physical battle and went for 66 yards. Like, when you're ready to pass, you pass the ball. You don't need to change everything you're doing. This is where I get worried that Nick Sirianni, for some reason, against a bad Panthers team, might try to be the outsmarter because he's listened to the sports talk radio and he's doing the things like, oh, well, you got to make sure you're passing the ball. No, you don't. Just go and win. If you win, it should cure all.
So, this is kind of going back to, talks a little bit about the last game, but also bringing it back to this upcoming matchup with Carolina. The Baltimore Ravens were the second best run defense in the NFL last week. They're still number 2. The Eagles were able to get 140 rushing yards on them. Carolina is ranked 32nd, and they give up 166.8. They gave up last game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 236 rushing yards to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, Tampa's 8th in the NFL right now. After that big game, that's going to, boost up their numbers a little bit. But listen, the Eagles average 188.9 right now. They're number 1 in the NFL in rushing. This is the game plan of the game. If Carolina wants to stack the box, they want to add an extra defender in there to stop the run, then what the Eagles are going to be able to do is throw the ball. If they're going to play 2 deep safety, then you run the ball. Like, the Eagles are taking it and they're playing.
You got to take what they're going to give you. It's just that simple. Take what they give you.
It is that simple. And that's the thing where I think a lot of people don't understand. They want to see this high flying air raid pass offense. That doesn't win you games in the NFL consecutively. Like, it'll win you a game here and there. I get that. You're going to have to do that. but you can't.
Here's what I will say. I think another so what I really like about this Eagles team is the fact that it's all gels together, right? So if you look at one of the reasons why this Eagles defense might be so good, it's because they're not finding themselves incredibly exhausted as the game goes on, because the Eagles are controlling the clock with the run game. If all of a sudden, what's that?
You know all about finding yourself. I caught you on that one. So
if you make this switch to be a pass heavy team, that's going to require more defensive possessions, which is, it's fine to an extent, but you also don't want that. Let your team out physical the other teams. I don't know what's so difficult about this.
And I'm going to look at it this way too. I've kind of thought about this, Chip, and it kind of starts to make a little bit of sense. Like the early 2000s, mid 2000s, even recently, not that long ago, a couple of years back, it's all about the passing and the 4,000 to 5,000 yards passing and 35 to 40 touchdown passes. But the way that I've looked at it is defenses, are trying to stop that. And I feel like the game is kind of evolving in the fact that defenses are playing too high safeties, so you don't get those deep passes. Well, that opens up a lot of area to be able to run the ball. And with the way that offenses are basically, they got some speed guys, you got some, the way that they're designed, there's only 2 linebackers on the field. You have 3 receivers, so there's an extra nickelback, a corner, safety that is smaller than a usual linebacker. You don't have 3 down linebackers, on the field. This isn't like a 4-3 prototypical old type of defense. And I think like the way that NFL offenses are playing now is, why pass the ball when they've kind of got that a little bit figured out, adding that extra smaller defender on there to cover that, adding the 2 deep safeties. And that's where offenses are now coming into the fact of, running the football, adding an extra lineman here and there, what the Eagles did this week was signing a fullback, and we'll get into that, Chip. We'll get into that. So adding those type of dimensions to be, with these defenses and the way that they're playing, if they're going to play small, you're going to be able to attack them in a way to be able to run the ball and move those chains. And defenses, hopefully you make a mistake if you have to just nitpick your way down the field. But if a team is able to run the ball down the field, I think it's a different scenario than the little dink and dunk passing down the field. I just think that it's starting to evolve back. So that little shift is starting to happen.
Yes.
It's now whether or not
it's not just with the Eagles either. Like you see it with Baltimore. You see it with,
look at free agency this year. Free agency with the running back position. Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins. Unfortunately, he's hurt right now. Saquon Barkley. You looked at these running backs. And you also
see it, what happens with a team like the Dallas Cowboys when you don't address the running back position. Yeah. The Dallas Cowboys are a team that is predicated on the play action pass, and instead they are not a threat in the run game. They just are not.
No, they're not. When you're not running the ball successful, you have to throw the ball, and that's why they're number 1 too. Plus, they're also behind in a lot of games, so that makes you have to throw the ball more.
And you're number 1 with a backup quarterback.
Yeah. So, that's unfortunately when you look at teams that throw the ball a lot of the time they're coming from behind, and they're not a really good football team, and that's just case in point right now. And
even the Browns game the other night, like the fact that Jameis Winston threw the ball 50 plus times. I mean, you have Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is one of the top running backs in this league, and you weren't playing from behind. You literally got into a scoring shootout.
Yeah. Sometimes those games are fun. I get that.
It was a fun game.
It's not sustainable because of what, look what happened. Jameis threw 2 interceptions, and everyone wants the Eagles to throw the ball more. If you're running the ball and you're successful doing that, let somebody try and stop you, and then you work off of that. That's what it is. It's about working off. It's not just changing the philosophy because let's see him throw the ball 40 times. No, you don't have to. If you don't have to and you're winning, that's what it matters.
That's where the stupidity of the talk radio thing came in today.
Well,
where it was,
yeah.
No. I want to go into the full
Go
scope
ahead.
of the dumb. The full scope of the dumb was the Eagles are arguably right now the best team in football, but they're going to get to a game, probably the Super Bowl, where they have to play a game where they throw the ball 40, 50 times. And will Jalen Hurts, and I'm quoting the radio here, be able to pull a Nick Foles out of his hat? Exactly, Sly.
Yeah. The dog agrees with you big time there.
The dog agrees. The dog knows football.
He's got that dog in him. I don't know. I don't know. You hear all this. To me, it's just nonsense. A lot of this stuff is just.
It's talking for the sake of talking and not really understanding how best this football team needs to play.
Essentially, it's talking to get a rise out of people and cause more conversation of nonsense that doesn't need to happen. I think the smart fans understand that. So like it's almost like it's in one ear and out the other. It's like almost like you scoff at it and then it's just like, okay, I'm not putting anything behind what they're saying because that's just nonsense.
Because it's just wrong.
Yeah, and listen, when a team is 10-2, you have to literally like it's trying to find a needle in a haystack. You got to try and find and dig and dig and dig until you find something to be able to, complain about. And unfortunately, that's what they're doing right now. But listen, this Eagles team is on a roll right now. You can't take the Carolina Panthers for granted. Bryce Young is playing some good football right now. They have Chuba Hubbard, who is a very talented running back.
He almost had to play some good football because he lost his job to Andy Dalton. It just so happened that Andy Dalton gets into a car accident. And they're like, all right, well, I guess we'll play Bryce Young again. I'm still thinking that Bryce Young was probably behind the wheel of the other car when that happened. He just couldn't see over his telephone book. That's what the accident was caused. It was really like a fender bender in the parking lot.
Yes.
I am. Chuba Hubbard has been a big addition for me in fantasy. That is still a team with Adam Thielen, who they do have some players, but they are overall a bad football team. Now, what I like about the Carolina Panthers is they are a team that is not willing to give up a game. So they're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder, trying to beat up on the best team in the NFL right now.
I wholeheartedly agree with you there. They're going to come out swinging.
So don't let them.
And you just have to, weather their punches and, do what you do and be physical and wear them down. Could this game be close at halftime? I could see that. I could see it being, a 1-score game at halftime. And then after half, the Eagles being able to kind of put their foot down on the pedal and be able to kind of, cruise a little bit. Listen, I want to see the backups in the fourth quarter. I'd love to see that. But
we always talk about how it's not easy to win a game and we're not always going to be able to see the backups. This is the kind of game where you're playing a Carolina Panthers team that is not good. You are playing them at home. Yeah, you know what? I think that a overall win for this team in this game specifically is the backups play the fourth quarter. I agree with that sentence.
I agree with you. And, if that's the case, then maybe Jalen only throws it 20 times again, and then people are going to complain. But listen, that's what it's about. It's about trying to get as many wins as possible, try to get that number 1 seed, because I think that is huge. And there's a huge game tomorrow night when the Green Bay Packers and the Lions play, because the Lions have a tough schedule. Listen, the Lions...
Not only do the Lions have a tough schedule, they have been racking up injuries very quickly.
Like, you have to look at their schedule with the next 2 games for them is Green Bay and Buffalo. And, they still have the Bears and at San Fran, and they have Minnesota. So they've got some tough teams. And, Green Bay, the Eagles have an extra game up on them. Right now it's a game up on them, but they essentially have 2 games because they beat them the first game of the year. It's Minnesota. You also need to have another loss too, because, their strength of victory is better if you tie with them. But the number 1 seed is a key factor for the Eagles to keep an eye on, because if you get that number 1 seed, you get that bye. You're the only team that gets the bye in the conference, and you're playing at home. And I think that is, we saw it in 2022. It was huge to be able to factor in and get your home games in the playoffs.
As of right now, what's your take on the percentage of the Eagles getting that number 1 seed?
I'm gonna say 30%.
Okay.
Because Detroit, they may be racking up the injuries, but listen, like, I know they have a tough schedule. The Bears played them tough. It's a divisional game. They got to go to Chicago now. They got to go to San Fran. I know San Fran's beat up, so it's like I don't know what San Fran team's going to be there or who's even going to be healthy. So I don't know that. They play Minnesota the end of the year. So these next 2 games are really key. If they can pull off, if they get both the wins, I think they're going to wind up getting the 1 seed. If they split it, there's a better chance the Eagles could potentially do that. But the Eagles, they don't have an easy schedule. Like, I understand they play Carolina and the Giants and the Cowboys.
That Pittsburgh game is looming.
Listen, they play Carolina. Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh is not a pushover. They're a damn good football team. The Commanders are going to want blood because we beat them already. So the Commanders are going to come out, and you're playing in Washington. Dallas, it's a divisional game. I know it's at home. It's still a divisional game. And the last game, the Giants, that one, may not be as tough. You're hoping you have the 1 seed locked up at that point. That week 18, you could play all the backups.
That game I want to be the Kenny Pickett mixtape.
I'd like to see it to be the Tanner McKee mixtape, but we have our, there you go. We have our preferences on that, but
the backup quarterback with you.
Listen, it's fun. Well, one, I know it gets you going, and one of these, if he's still on the team, you're going to get a backup quarterback jersey, and it's going to be Tanner McKee. Yeah, because you're going to lose a bet. We're going to make a bet every year, so just be ready.
You don't get to make the same bet every year just because you haven't won it yet.
Listen, people play the lottery every single day.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just saying. But this now brings us to one of our favorite segments. The segment that we are very confident, but the results show no confidence.
Very bad.
It's time for the Ulecka locks of the week. Who's your lock?
Okay. So I think we spoke about it on the post-game show. You had Drew Lock beating Dallas. Wrong. I had Miami beating Green Bay in week 13. Yeah, I was wrong. I'm going to let you go, Chip. Let you start it out here. What is your Ulecka lock of the week?
All right, I think Drew Lock this now.
Well, he's starting again against the Saints.
That's why I started that sentence and then just to mess with you, but absolutely not. I'm not putting another bet on Drew Lock. I'm going to get mine out of the way early. I think that the game tomorrow night, it's going to be the game of the weekend.
Okay.
So I am predicting that the Lions will lose tomorrow night.
Ooh, okay. I was going to go the Thursday night game as well. So I was going to, but I'm going to switch it up. And I'm going to go a little college football here. And I'm going to go with come Sunday when the selection show for the college football playoff, Alabama will not be in the college football playoff. And the reasoning of that is I believe Clemson will win against SMU, and SMU will drop to 11, which will knock Alabama out. And it'll be Clemson getting in, of course, with winning the conference championship, and SMU still staying in. Because I thought there was a great thing the SMU coach said was teams are not going to, because they're 8 right now. If teams get knocked out because they lose a conference championship when they're already in right now, It's going to have teams that are going to elect. They're not going to want to play in the conference championship. Like you said, my whole team got sick and had COVID, and we can't play. We're in the conference.
Yeah, and it's also not fair when you have a team. I think that depending on what happens with Notre Dame's game, I think that there has to be what I'm saying, Notre Dame's playoff game.
Oh, matchup. Gotcha.
I think there has to be a conversation of, because like you just said, Notre Dame got a free pass in because they get to choose their own schedule. You know what I mean? So they don't have to play in a conference championship game.
They play like a lower level ACC schedule with USC sprinkled in there and a couple of decent teams. I get that.
I think that it could lead to, because of the expansion now, I think it could lead to a conversation of, if you're going to choose to not play a major schedule, you really can't play in major games. But the problem is that Notre Dame is too big of a moneymaker.
I just come at it like this. No matter what kind of positioning, schedule, projection, whatever you do, whether it was the BCS or whether it's the college football playoff or whether it's they vote on a champion after the season, whatever it's been, there's always been controversy and there always will be. It's just, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Because
it's just the way it is, right?
Alabama essentially is not the SEC team that should be in there. It should be South Carolina. But again, that's for another day and another show. But that is what it is. But I have Alabama getting knocked out because Clemson will win the ACC championship. So that is my Ulecka lock. Which now,
first year post Saban, interesting.
Yeah. Which now brings us to the prediction, the Eagles Panthers prediction. I'll start out with this one, and again, like I had mentioned, I believe it'll be close in the first half, like a one-score game, but the Eagles will, pull away in the second half, and I have the Eagles coming away with a victory, 31-14 over the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I think the defense for the Philadelphia Eagles is just continuing to show all the things that they can do, and I don't think that Bryce Young is a good enough quarterback to be able to handle the different blitz packages that are going to be coming his way. So I do not have the Panthers scoring many points. As far as the Eagles go, our offense is currently clicking on most cylinders. Coming across a bad team like this gives you an opportunity to really put the gas at full throttle. So for the Eagles, I have them winning. I have them winning by a score, modest score again, which means I'm about to be ridiculous. I have the Eagles winning 42-10.
Jeez, that'd be fun. I would say that. I will say that. That would be fun. But we'll see. So we both have Eagles going away with a victory, and improving their record, which would be great to see. But appreciate everyone tuning in. Just remember to always follow us. All the channels are at the bottom there at AATBirds on X and Instagram, youtube.com/AATBirds1 on the bottom there. But with that, as we always say, go Birds.
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.